If you are somebody who's watching, then you can see that I am keeping Tom safe, as well as all the other employees at 93.3 who utilize their studio. Had to keep it at the house today. Fully medicated. Could be a very interesting edition of the show today. We are on drugs. You might think that on a regular basis to begin with, but that's not true. Except for today it is. Hopped up on goofballs, trying to persevere and get us to the damn Super Bowl already. If we need to take some time next week, maybe we will, but I got to get us there. I got to drag us into Super Bowl week. Got to. So here we go. We're underway. Hello, Tom. How are you, buddy?
I feel protected because of your great sacrifice. I feel fantastic and protected. I don't think that the soundproof glass was enough protection. And the miles that are between us, you're in this direction, actually. If I was to, that's about the direction you go. But I am well within the state border here in Florida, and you are basically in Georgia. So this feels like a good enough distancing so that next week's vacation will be not a sickly one. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you'll be all right. You'll be all right. I'm ready to roll, and I'll be okay. Hey, you know what I was doing before we came on the air? I want to start here because I too often forget to do this. There's plenty of time for us to talk Super Bowl, and I am excited about it. I think it's going to be a great game. Still leaning Eagles here. I think a lot of the metrics point that way, and I feel good about it. Thank you, Florida man in Alabama. Dial up some hot toddies for me. I got access to a lot here in my humble abode. I can make my way over later to the cabinet that has the bone broth, the tea, the everything you could possibly want, scotch, everything you could possibly want. And I've got it all. Right now, it's a lot of water. It's a lot of water to offset the Sudafed amongst other things. But anyhow, too often I forget to do this. I listen to, just like all of you guys do, I would think, if you're interested in football, then I would think that you are watching the Newcomer interviews that we do at warchant.com, and they're on. We post them every day. Warchant TV, you can find them online here. You can find them on the website, warchant.com. And I watch them all, and I know that this is, look, you just got done going 2-10. I don't care if every interview sounds like it's the greatest interview you've ever heard. If the kids say exactly, whatever that might be, exactly what you want to hear. If there are indicators that make you feel good, there's immediately a response in your brain that's going to go, yeah, man, we thought they were going to win 9 games last year. Let's slow our roll and not get all excited about an interview or a answer to a question. I don't know if any of these guys can play or not. And even if they can play, I don't know that they'll mesh. I mean, that's the constant negativity that's in your head that comes off of a devastatingly poor season. And it's normal. And it's also completely fair. It is completely fair to push back on anybody who gets overly excited about player interviews. I'm with you on that, man. I'm not going to get excited. If they look like they did in 2013 when we're watching spring practice, there's no way that I'm going to put my arm around that and say, yep, we're winning championships, boys. Back to normal. We're good to go. Because we all got burned. We all know that a spring practice is just a spring practice. For that matter, a good day at fall camp is just a good day at fall camp. It doesn't necessarily translate to a big win over Florida or Alabama in the opener. Doesn't mean you're going to go and beat Clemson, any of that stuff. None of that. But it does beat the alternative. It does beat the hell out of watching interviews and going, ooh, I feel like this is going further downhill. Man, this ain't good. These guys, they suck. You know, that kind of a thing. And it's nuts. But anyhow, I really came away very, very impressed with Deontay McCrae. Not that I wasn't impressed with everybody else, but I was really impressed with, and I would invite you to go to listen to all of them. You got the other defensive tackle, and then you've got the other, you got the linebacker to listen to as well. But I liked this is a kid who comes across as extremely confident, and he also talked, he was really likable, infectious personality. He was talking about being at the bowl game they were in, and he gets a call from Florida State. He'd already been talked to by Texas A&M, and his mind's swimming. It's his dream growing up. He's a Jacksonville guy. He's got his dream growing up to go to Florida State, and now here's this opportunity at hand. And he feels, and I think we all feel this way, right? When we project the way we view the game and view being a teammate and view responsibility, you'd like to believe that everybody understands that in that moment you got to put that kind of a thing, no matter how much it excites you, on the back burner, and then find your way to focus and be a good teammate and do your job. But I don't know that always happens. So it was cool to hear him talk about that. And I do think that I kind of feel like it came across that he was an incredibly dedicated teammate who's willing to sacrifice and go all out for the guy next to him. He talked some about that. I won't get too much in that, but he talked about being, hey, listen, I don't care what you want me to do. I can play inside. I can play outside. I play to dominate. Okay. Maybe he will, maybe he won't, but that is certainly the attitude I want to hear from a defensive player. Is I don't care if you want to slide me inside or move me on the outside. I'm going to dominate wherever you put me. And moreover, I do think of the defensive players that we hear from, it is a good idea, or at least it bodes well, portends well. We'll see. But it portends well for every one of those guys who says, without being prompted, that they really want to be coached hard, that they really expect that a coach is going to really get after them because they want the most of what's within them, and they expect to be coached hard, that they want it. And so he talked about that too. And I'll tell you why I say that. Tony White is going to coach him hard. You can tell. He's going to coach him hard. It sounds like Knighton is too. So I think they're going to get all of that they want. And I don't always think it's necessary on the offensive side of the ball. You can have diva wide receivers who don't like to be yelled at, and they can still produce because of the nature of the beast, the position. But not defensively. And you got to be thick-skinned and tough to play defense. I mean, see every one of those guys that Mickey Andrews used to talk to being nice, on a daily basis. You're talking about all-world players being screamed down on a daily basis and challenged as much as you can possibly challenge a man without having him punch you. That's the way things were, and I really hope I begin to see it again. I really hope that that's exactly what we get out of this defensive coordinator, and I really hope that's what the defensive players expect to see.
Yeah, I think another part of the equation here is with this group of transfers, many of them are coming from lower institutions, lower classifications, and if you're looking for through lines about how to hit transfers and how their mentality fits what you're wanting to get out of your program and what you're wanting to get on either side of the ball, last year, you're going to major institutions and grabbing guys that were blue chippers that you liked maybe the first time around, but you didn't get them in high school. This time is much like previous transfer portal classes where there's a lot of players from lower classifications that have a chip on their shoulder inherently. Tylen Coleman talking about having no stars coming out of high school today. Think he's motivated? Of course he is. And he was talking about how JUCO is not as refined. He got here and there's so many more technical things he's learning about everything from training to technique and playing his position on the defensive line, but he wanted a shot here. He wanted a shot in the show. This is football's version of the show if you're coming out of high school and you're not recruited well enough or high enough in your own opinion. Jermaine Johnson was the same way. He came from Georgia, but Georgia by way of JUCO, and Jared Verse came from Albany, and Braden Fisk came from Western Michigan. I mean, it's not to say that these levels don't have talent. They obviously do, but there is something, a residual chip on the shoulder that's left from leaving high school and going to your first destination before it all clicks and comes together for you. And so I think many of these guys are more naturally predisposed to have the attitude and the mindset that this group is going to have anyway. The holdovers will, because they just went 2-10, so they're pissed. You want a team of pissed off people who are motivated to prove people wrong, and I would think Florida State has a collection of those. At least that's what these interviews suggest, and today's were no exception to that.
Yeah, I'm rooting for all the guys, and I didn't mean to exclude anybody. I really came across impressed there. And you're right, it seems to be a through line here for a lot of these guys. I mean, the whole thing is whether or not they can play and whether or not you're bringing in a level of talent that allow you to reach the goals that you have. And, I'll be excited when it's a time that you don't necessarily have to go the route that we're going. But I will tell you that I do think that from a mentality standpoint, there are some things that portend well because I do think that marriage of tough coaching defensively, obviously, I'd like to see them elevate the level of toughness in practice. You don't have to go crazy with it. We don't have to be the junction boys, but I do think we have to have tougher practices. I'd like to see more physical practices. Maybe that's a better way of saying it. Um, and I think you're going to have a coach who demands it, from what I can tell from the videos that I've watched of him and the interviews that I've gone and researched and listened to him talk. I mean, obviously, you think about the what he was as a player as well. It seems to me that it stands to reason. So I'm looking forward to that because I think defensively it's necessary. It's such defense is involved. Defense is involved in an awful lot of sacrifice, physically and mentally. There's a lot of it there to play good defensive football in an era where obviously offenses are set up to succeed at every level.
Part of me wonders as we're getting close to March here, if there will be a policy change for practice access. You do have 2 new coordinators. You got a new scheme. I just wonder if that's going to, well, we're going to learn very shortly here if this is a Mike Norvell principle of open doors to local media or not. Because one would think that there's a lot more influence entering the building who they might have some different ideas. We're getting closer. Last year, I think we got to the precipice of March before they released their full schedule because they started after spring break itself. But I wonder, we're getting into week 1, week 2 of February, and you want to see that schedule. When do we get to go see the tour of duty? The final one of those workouts is always fun. I know that's right up your alley because you're awake anyway, and you get a chuckle out of that because nobody else on staff really is.
I do.
You see the miserable look on many people's faces. I'm in the middle. It's no bother to me, especially now with the sleeping issues. But yeah, you have that on the docket. You check off the list for spring. I wonder. No whispers, no intel, nothing like that. I'm not hinting at anything, but as we get closer, I mean, Gus has an idea of how he wants to run something. Tony White has an idea of how he wants to run something. And if there is anything to your theory that maybe Matt Rule and not wanting to put spring games on television anymore because you're going to get poached is a contagious thought in the coaching community, I'll be fascinated to see if and when we get a rundown on that availability.
Yeah, I don't know. I've always enjoyed. I feel like if you wanted to, you could certainly have the conversation involving Mike's policies because you go back a couple of years, they had an undefeated regular season and we had as much access as you could possibly have. You had probably better access to practice than almost any media in the country. I don't know that to be true. I don't know what it's like at a lot of schools across in terms of like out west or something. I don't know. I'm always of the understanding that the vast majority of coaches have it on lockdown to the point of being paranoid. I don't think that necessarily does you any good. Mike has always had and has really been proud of the fact, whether it was Memphis or here, an open policy, provided you stayed within some parameters.
Yeah,
I would hope that that's going to be the case. You certainly can always lay it out. And I always thought that was smart. You want people covering your program. You want people talking about your program. And that's especially true if you really believe in what you're doing. I don't know, because to your point, Tom, yes, there'll be other influences from people who have strong opinions, one of which has been a head coach before. But also, it would seem like an overreaction to a bad year.
I don't know that it would necessarily be about, well, let's do the opposite of last year because we lost a bunch of games. But I mean, when you have a different voice in the room, it could potentially change. The one thing I would say is coming off of 2-10, you could argue that you need to give more access, because
right. Yeah.
The more pieces of media that come out about your football program and talking about not only these newcomer interviews, but that, wow, Tylen Coleman was very impressive in one-on-ones today. Every time that somebody writes that, they think the people who consume it think a little bit less about 2-10 and they think more about the now, and they get into their Zen mode and maybe they look forward to the future with a tinge of positivity. It'll be interesting though, just because we're getting to that time where typically the docket is released. And for me, that's a big one to check, because then you also know what your life looks like in March/April. No spring showcase. They can really play around with the schedule too, as much as they want to, because you don't have to build it around a crescendo event with a bunch of people coming to town. Usually they would do that one practice after to reset the chaos, post chaos of the spring showcase. So I wonder how they're going to handle it.
I always thought if I were a head coach, I would have certain ground rules and they would be set in stone, and there'd be things that we would be. I like the idea, and I think this is true. Bobby Bowden had this approach for a very long time too. He loved the media coverage. I always think that one of the best things Florida State has done in the past, and I think every school should do it, is they have us come in. For those of you that don't know, the way this sets up is they have you come in before there's ever a practice, before any practice takes place, spring or fall. And you have a lunch in some cases. Others, there used to just be meetings. We would go and we'd sit down in a conference room over there at the Moore Center, and they would just lay out, here's the deal, guys. You know, if you've been given a pass here, it means you were approved. Okay. So that means we've vetted the credential process and you're here for a reason. And here are the rules. And if you break them, we take the pass. This is just how it works. Like, you don't get second and third chances. You can't do this. Mike has a very strict policy about reporting on injuries. If you report on an injury in a way that crosses that line, the rule that he has, then you don't gain access anymore. It's pretty simple. It's the same. I think you could really put 4 or 5 things out there that you thought were important to not have reported, and then you would feel safe. And if anybody violated that, at that point, that person's gone, or you could go back and say, okay, we're going to have to make changes because I'm seeing too many instances of this. That'd be the easier way of doing it. By the way, to answer questions here in the chat, Trailer Swift says, does Mike sell the media access to recruits and transfers? You'll get exposure for your brand, and it prepares you for the NFL. I don't know if he does. I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know if he's ever said that. I don't know if he's ever, like, look, man, I allow people to have access so that you and your story will get told. I think they certainly realize it pretty quickly. I know they're told they're going to be required at some point in their time here to sit down and do interviews. I know that post-practice, they try to bring up different guys every day. So, you can request people, but usually they come after practice and tell you, hey, you're going to get so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so. And, that's the way it works. And they try to mix it up quite a bit.
I think largely they do a wonderful job with that. Whether or not you sell it, I don't think practice access is related to the question. I think interview access for the player is probably what Trailer Swift is getting at. It could be partially that Mike Norvell recruits likable dudes. It could be that the media relations staff at Florida State does an excellent job in preparing them. But I think over the last 2 to 3 years, interviews by and large are much better than they used to be. And by that, I mean the players' preparedness to answer questions, their ability to showcase who they are, be themselves, but then also give some insightful answers and flash their personality. I think they've been better under Mike Norvell than they were under Willie, and really under Jimbo as well. So that could be on media relations, but I think it's an opportunity for a player or a coach, especially now that you can monetize yourself in a way as a player that never before you could. That's a big part of the equation. I know in the Nick Saban model, coordinators don't get to speak except for media day. I mean, if I'm trying to make sure that people know who the hell I am, and I'm Jimbo or Jeremy Pruitt or Muschamp or Kirby Smart, I mean, you name whoever it is, I'd like to speak once in a while, and I think the players feel that way too, but they do seem awfully prepared by the time they hit the dais. Newcomer interviews are always fun for the freshmen because you can tell they're going, whoa.
Some of them are really nervous, yeah.
Well, it's different than a breakout when leaving a stadium on an official visit. You're in a room, people are seated, you're at a podium. It feels like speech class more than it does just a casual interview because you're coming out of the facility on a Sunday afternoon. So you could see that spooks some of the freshmen sometimes. But by and large, they're prepared. And I would think it's a plus. As you get into the room in the NFL Combine, if you've done 8, 9 interviews over the course of the last year with the beat, I think you're probably more prepared for people to hit you from different angles with different questions.
Before we go to break real quick, Noel Dad asked, how do we feel about Cromartie signing, and is he going to be held to his dad's standards? Well, I can't imagine that he'd be held to his dad's standards. And, unfortunately, his dad, while being a freak athlete, one of the best I've ever seen, and certainly a guy who went it and had a long NFL career, had his career cut short here before he could ever truly dominate with the injury that he had. I thought he was going to be a superstar, but there's no way to hold his son to the same standard as his father. He is a far lesser recruit. If we're putting it bluntly, this is not a kid that, was a 5-star that everybody in the world wanted. So I would think most people would have tempered standards for what they expect out of him. And let's hope that he surpasses those things. And then for Patrick, I think I've been sick twice in a year and a half. So I don't even know what that means. But as far as that question goes, also, when we're sick. Nobody knows when you're sick, Patrick. Also, to point out, I would say that we all share microphones, so you have to be courteous to others. Chef Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Ain't nothing but a G-pop, baby.
I am 99% sure that is not how the lyrics go.
Well, you like remixes, right?
Of course.
Well, think of this as a Grassroots Coffee remix per se, because Grassroots Coffee is now in the single-serve coffee pod game.
Dude, those single-serve coffee pods and cups are weak sauce.
Not Grassroots Coffee G-Pods. They have more coffee in them than regular single-serve pods and cups.
Seriously?
And not only do they have more coffee, they have a built-in filter for better brewing. They fit in most Keurig machines, and they are fully compostable.
It's still the small batch, slow roasted coffee you love, so go to grassrootscoffee.com and get your box of G-Pods today.
Baby.
See? Remix!
Well, actually, that's more of an homage.
Grassroots Coffee, locally owned, locally roasted, and made for everyone, loved everywhere.
Grassroots Coffee G-Pods. So very good.
There's nothing like relaxing in a hot tub after a long day. But if you don't have one, you're truly missing out. Hot tubs and spas have tremendous health benefits, besides just helping you relax. Like improving your sleep, they help with pain relief. They help to better your cardiovascular health, and so much more. And this season is the perfect season to finally buy what you've been wishing for. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patio, and Spas has the hot tubs you need for the price you want. Come shop our huge 12,000 square foot showroom and save today. There's over 50 hot tubs in stock right now, so you won't have to wait weeks on end for that delivery to finally come to town. If you're ready to relax, we're here to show you how. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patios, and Spas. Come visit our huge showroom at 2473 Greer Road with over 50 hot tubs to choose from. You'll be glad you did.
Every journey starts with a first step, a daring step. But what they don't say about first steps is that you have to keep going, taking step after step, and eventually you take a big leap, accomplishing more than you ever thought possible. After 57 years, Tallahassee Community College is soaring even higher, and we're now officially Tallahassee State College. We invite you to take a step and visit Tallahassee State College. Learn more at tsc.fl.edu.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And when you need more comfort for yourself, try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks Vapors. Use as directed. Vapo Stick for use ages 4 and up. Vapo Shower Max used for adults only.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Plus free home delivery when you add a base. Ends Monday. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Tomorrow on the program, Lee Sterling, Paramount Sports, will join us. Give some prop bets out there. I'm taking the under, gang. 48.5 currently as we sit here today, leaning towards it. Going to tease it up a little bit. Couple of reasons for that. Both defenses are very good, and the under is 5-1 in the last 6 Super Bowls. Totals in the 40s are on a 7-2 under run. Feels good to me. Let's go that route as we start the show with a little something. Sprinkling pizza money on a bunch of them. Including the oddities, like the props that you wouldn't otherwise suspect. Things like time of possession and all that kind of stuff. And makes the game kind of a little bit more fun as you go along. Not in a square party this time around, Tommy. Not doing it. I've never won squares. I refuse. I'm done with it.
You're sure you don't want me to put you in contact with Teddy in New York with the $5,000 a square game? You don't want to make $250,000 this week? That's your problem.
Well, Venmo him my $5,000 so you can put a square in there.
That's right.
And I have no way of proving you did.
You've got 2 and 2. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, man. No, I'd be happy to do, given where you were in New York, the little local neighborhood bar, which we both enjoyed. Rogers, right?
That's right. Yeah, go see Renee. Renee is in charge of all that. Yeah.
I would be very happy to turn the corner, belly up to the bar on a Friday before the Super Bowl, sit down, have an ice-cold Guinness, and remark that, Renee, I'd like a couple of squares, if you would, please. Yes, I would do that if I were there.
She would say, okay. And then Brendan would walk up. How are your boys? He liked your sons, Irish Brendan, the old man bartender.
Because they were at a bar, which I don't know how appropriate that is, and we were playing darts.
That's right. That's right. But he enjoyed because they were very polite. They asked for sodas, and they brought money for a refill. And he goes, get that away.
Yeah, and that's like the one and only time they can ever get sodas. I never let them have sodas. So it's like they must have been like, well, they kind of got to let me now because they're doing their own things. So it's like, yeah, I know. Hey, did you see this? I meant to mention this yesterday. Jacksonville fans, here you go. I'm going to do this really quickly since we were on an NFL subject a moment ago when I was talking about betting. I think that's one of the cool stories of the week is that the Jaguars hired a new offensive coordinator. Now Liam Cohen's going to be the play caller. We know that, but do you know the story of this Grant Udinski kid? I call him a kid, and you're probably the age now where you're close to calling him a kid too.
Oh,
you know this?
No, but I do. Yeah. McVay is my peer. Like there are many now in the big game as head coaches that are my peers, sadly.
Well, it started getting weird for me some years ago when coaches that Florida State was looking to hire were younger than me and are younger than me. You know, like when that happens, when guys come in and you're like, oh, that guy's 6 years younger than me, and he's the new head coach at Florida State, stuff like that.
Yeah, Mike reminded me of a specific kid that I went to high school with that was awfully loud when he was a senior and I was a freshman, and it hit me that he could have been a senior when I was a freshman. He might as well have been that kid. Same guy.
Well, here's the deal. For those that don't know, and again, I take plenty of shots at you, Jacksonville, but you got my attention this week, and it made me smile, so here you go. Grant Udinski is the new offensive coordinator with the Jacksonville Jaguars, hired by Liam Cohen. He's 29 years old. My man is 29 as an OC in the NFL. Now, that's not why the story caught my attention. The reason the story, well, it's partly why it caught my attention, but this is the better part of the story. He's 29. When he was 23, he was living in a car. How cool is that?
Wow. Jeez. No
Think
idea about that story.
Dude, 6 years ago, this guy was living in a car, albeit briefly, but I was reminded, and all of us can relate to something like this. I hope, I don't know, maybe not, but I think most people can. You're reminded of a couple of things. First of all, when you're really young and you've got goals and ambitions and dreams and hopes and all of those things, and you find something that you really want to do, something that you're really passionate about, you'll do pretty much anything to achieve it. You'll go ahead and sacrifice in a way that, when looking back as once you get to be middle class or thereabouts, you look back on and think, I couldn't do that now. I couldn't be a 37-year-old, 45-year-old living in my car. I don't think I could. I would move on to some other dream, some other ambition, rather than wait it out in my effing car. Like, I don't think you would do it. So, it makes me smile. It makes me think of the way that you feel about music when you're 15. It's just stuff like that. So this guy, let me give you the backstory. He was the OC. He was the underling with the Minnesota Vikings this past year, Tom. So obviously they can call offense there, and he is kind of deemed as being the whisperer that saved Sam Darnold's career, right? That this guy gets a lot of credit for helping Sam Darnold. Now, probably good for him to move on, given that Sam Darnold fell off a cliff the last 2 games that he played, and people, you don't want to be associated with it anymore. So he took off. But good for him. He parlayed it into an OC position. Here's the deal. Grant Udinsky played tight end at Davidson, and he was a defensive end as well at Towson. And he got his start in coaching. He was a graduate assistant at Baylor under Matt Rule. Now, another indicator that nobody wants to continue to coach for Matt Rule. It's funny how that ends up working out. But anyhow, he lived in his car in a Walmart parking lot for the beginning time that he was in Waco, Texas. And he didn't tell anybody. He was just like, this is what I got to do. I'm a grad assistant. I ain't got nothing. Didn't have much to fall back on. Guess I'm going to live here in the Walmart parking lot in Waco. Woo! It's not like Walmart parking lots are a fun place to live anywhere in the country. Feels like a special kind of Walmart parking lot when you're in Waco.
I mean, you talk about trying to fall asleep and then worrying about any little noise that happens in the parking lot. You can lock your car, but still, I don't know. You close your eyes to the Walmart parking lot overnight, weird stuff happens. You hear bass of a car that rolls up, a car door opens and closes, the music stops. Is he walking towards me? Are they just doing a handoff over there in terms of a delivery? What the hell's going on here in the Walmart parking lot at 4 a.m? I'm sure that there were many nights that he wondered if he was going to wake up after going to sleep in the Walmart parking lot in his car.
Basically what happened was one of the assistants that was on the staff there found out that he was sleeping in his car at the Walmart parking lot in Waco and said, hey, man, you don't have to sleep in your car. Come stay with me. So he did, and there's a whole bunch of hoops to jump through from there where guys went on to the Carolina Panthers, and then that assistant who welcomed him into his house said, hey, you could be my assistant here. And then he had an opportunity to go. Long story short, he's obviously making a lot of money now, and he's the new OC in name only, really. Cohen will be calling the plays, but you talk about a lesson to be learned. He's the new OC at 29 years of age for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So grad assistants making a whole lot of nothing. Got to imagine he's about to be a millionaire if he isn't already. Wouldn't you say, as an OC?
Well, yes, and you get apprenticeships under O'Connell and Cohen in your NFL tenure. Yeah. Not even to mention the Rule connection, which he's a great offensive mind at his level. So you've got 3 formative offensive minds that are going to teach you their principles. He's going to get his own play calling shot here really, really soon, and he's paid to get that apprenticeship. That's, there are some dudes when they take a job, maybe it's with your team, maybe not, but you look through their resume and you see where they've been. Like Ed Orgeron, for as much as we yuck it up about who Ed Orgeron is and do the impressions. If you look at the resume and see where he's coached and who he's coached with, you go, my God, that guy, he's seen some things. He's got some stories he could tell. In the same way, this young offensive mind is around other young offensive minds that are hot commodities. O'Connell, of course, was connected to McVay. So you've got that tree. And then the Cohen tree is this whole other thing. Yeah, man, that's a really cool story. I still hope maybe Liam does a fewer press conferences, a few less press conferences, and allows his offensive coordinator to speak to some things rather than him trying to explain the Duval offense.
Josh tells us that he slept in the Walmart parking lot on North Monroe before game day in 2014. Did not parlay it into an OC job, though. Well, Josh, I think there are times in our life, including in our early 20s, where we've slept in a lot of places that we've woken up and wondered about. How did I end up here? Why am I here? Where am I? Is a question that has been asked before as I've awakened in my early 20s. What happened? Oh, that's right. Okay. All right. Is there anybody else around? I should probably go. This isn't good. Where's my shirt? What happened? Yes, all these things.
Well, it's quiet right now. This seems to be my chance to just leave.
And
so I think I'm gonna do that.
And put the pieces together, like on the walk outside. Like, okay, so I remember we went here. I jumped in with Tony and Paul. They said they were going over to Joanna's house. This is not Joanna's house. What is, oh, that's right. We walked to get the keg. What? I don't know. I just have to get home. Now imagine that's you. Shoes in your hand. Yeah, you're kind of a little confused. Where's my left sock? Where's my left sock? Why would that be? This is bizarre.
Yeah, that's the Magic Johnson. You don't want to know. You don't. There are few better sleeps in this world than returning to your bed after a situation that you describe, where it could be 10 in the morning, 11 in the morning. Of course, these are the undergrad days.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. You finally make your way home. You open your bedroom door. Everything's still there. All the smells are familiar. You close the door behind you, and you just face plant right onto the mattress, just like the end of Almost Famous. One of my favorite parts. It's just a little moment. He finally gets home. Frances McDormand just crosses her arms, lets him in the door. He looks at his bed, and he embraces the whole of his bed in his home. That is a great feeling, and those days were ones where I really felt what he was doing there.
But then you wake up and you go, all right, now I got to get some answers. And this was also before the dawn of cell phones. So you were piecing it together. You were doing detective work with the old phone, the old dial-up. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
The Leon County Sheriff's Office is looking to boost the number of businesses hiring people recently released from prison. The benefits of hiring someone with a criminal record can impact the community, not just the individual. Roughly 50% of inmates who do not find a job shortly after release are likely to commit another crime or return to jail. LCSO is looking for more businesses to join their network and help hire offenders. While it is up to the employer what type of offenders they hire, building that relationship is a starting point for someone looking to get back on track. LCSO said they currently have about 40 businesses pledged to help hire people with criminal records. To help expand their partnership, the Sheriff's Office is hosting a Second Chance business event on February 20th. Businesses interested in attending can contact Aaron Tupper with the Leon County Sheriff's Office at 850-591-7017. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Frobley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times this afternoon, with daytime highs approaching 78. Winds out of the south, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows level off around 59 with fog in spots tonight, overcast skies. Daytime highs approaching 77 with fog early tomorrow. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Currently 72.
It's roofing and construction services. T-Bar-Construction.com. We conquer all peaks. We fix those darn leaks. Call 850-766-134. T-Bar Enterprises. Roofing and construction services. T-Bar-Construction.com.
CCC 1331204.
There is. Haven't seen this guy since, what was it? Oh, shoot. You two at the Sphere in Las Vegas, baby.
Hey, how about that, man? Wasn't that fun?
Good show. Good show. Everything about it. Nearly perfect. Nearly perfect.
I had everything I could possibly want.
I wanted one thing, couldn't find it, and I looked everywhere. No Cubans.
What do you mean?
No Cubans.
There was Cubans.
No, I didn't see any Cubans.
Dude, I'm sure there was Cubans there. I mean, you know.
No. I walked around. There was a moment right before the show. I thought, got to find some Cubans. Nothing.
Dude, there's Cubans. There was Cubans. I'm sure there was Cubans.
In Las Vegas?
In Las Vegas.
No Cubans in Vegas.
There's Cubans in Vegas, man.
Eddie, there were no Cubans.
Chef.
The sandwich. There were no Cuban sandwiches. You're Cuban. Of course I know there were Cubans there.
Oh, the sandwich. Yeah, no, there probably wasn't many there in Vegas.
No Cubans.
No, not yet.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Kyle's Corner says, when I was in my 20s, I went all over the country doing comedy with a bunch of comic friends. We slept in many parking lots, but it was for a day or two and we'd go to the next place. I feel like I slept for a month when I got back to my bed. Yeah. I think a lot of people that resonated perhaps that last segment with folks remembering waking up in weird places. Weirdest place for me happened to be during a spring break down in the Keys, Isla Mirada, and a couple other spots. Woke up in a dangerous situation to the water lapping against my face. That's not good. You could die. Don't do that, kids.
So you brought that to the airwaves. You really don't have a filter. It's very impressive. This is special. I hope the listeners appreciate the special relationship of transparency that they get here.
Let me tell you, the funny part about that, and I'll move it along. This is many moons ago. It seems like a lifetime ago now. But back then you did things where you didn't plan out accordingly. Like this, the idea mattered more than the plan. So it's sort of, you want to go to the Keys? Yeah, man, let's go. And you just kind of hop in a car. Where are we going to stay at the end of the night? Where are we going to be? Do we have, can we camp? I don't know how to camp. Do you? No? We'll figure it out. Onward we go. That's how you end up in these things. Where your
youngest has that spirit in him more than your oldest does.
Yes, my oldest, being wiser than his father at a young age already, would be like, what are you talking about? We need a place to stay. Why don't you be an adult and call somewhere and figure out if we can stay?
He looks at pluses and minuses before he makes a decision, but I think your youngest has your free spirit in him. And I'll be interested to see when he goes to LSU, where that takes him. What interesting rides he's going to go on.
The reason Tom brings that up is that he's said if he's not going to go to FSU, he wants to go to LSU. And at which point I told him, please do. Please do. I would love the opportunity to come visit for big football weekends. It could happen. I might show up. You and I would both like that. And by the way, Mr. Tom says he's coming too. he's jumping in the car with me.
100%. I think we all get one freebie too, where we get to go with him and see what it's like for the kids and be the embarrassing adults just for one time only. And we get to be those guys that they look at like we looked at, parents who were making their way into the party, and you go, what the hell? I always kind of appreciated it as long as they left in a timely fashion.
Yeah, that's the whole key. You got to leave in a timely fashion. My father had me take him to a big party I was going to, and I was trying to hook up with this girl, and I didn't need my dad there, but he wanted to go, and it was what you're talking about. So I was kind of like, now, Dad, listen here. You need to ride the hell up out of here about 10 minutes after you walk in here.
I'm telling you, though, your dad's never met a stranger. He would have been fine on his own.
But I didn't need him yapping.
That's probably true. Joe Contributor's dad stayed with us for a couple of days, and I remember when it hit him how cool the area we lived in was, and the setup we had in the apartment. He just stopped mid-sentence at one point, and he looked at us and went, "Boys, this is awesome. This is awesome." And then he proceeded to go and stock us up all of our fridges. I mean, those are the best moments right there.
Well, many a man who's listening to this right now understands the beauty of the ratio on FSU's campus, especially back then. And it's just sort of, you're like, oh man, these are good times. Somebody mentioned it in the chat as I segue back for a moment, and I think that is accurate. In fact, I'm 100% certain it is. That if Luke Clanton makes the cut, he's going to get his card. Did you know that? And they're at the waste management. They're at the waste management, everybody.
Well, they call it the WM now. They don't want to be called the waste management. Just so you know, they're very.
They're at the waste management is where they are, and they are dialing back the freak show. Where, no, you know what? I will tell you that I'm kind of okay with them dialing it back.
Yeah, have you seen the table that they put together of the last 3 years and arrests and police calls and ejections? It has been exponential. The curve, it just goes straight to the moon the last 3 years in terms of EMTs they needed to call, people they needed to kick out, police calls and security calls of any kind. It's going up 2- and 3-fold every year. I think it was up to 700 and change last year. Just incidents that security/police needed to attend to. What are we doing?
My favorite aspect of this tournament, beyond people going nuts for shots close to the hole, the famed Stadium Par 3 there, and we've seen the famous one with Tiger Woods and people raining down beers. There was a time where it was fun, and you knew it was headed towards being a disaster, and it ended up being a disaster. And in the last couple of years, it got really goofy and silly and over the top. And yes, to your point, but there probably isn't a sporting event, maybe an MMA event or something like that. But I don't think there's been a sporting event that I've seen in recent memory, college football excluded, where people always end up face down in the muck an hour and a half before the game. And there's usually, or like a Buffalo Bills tailgate during the regular season, NFL parking lots. Okay, I'm wrong. NFL parking lots. Shady ass Tampa, Buffalo Bill, you name it. Any NFL parking lot, there's a whole lot of buffoonery going on. Folks just letting loose on a Sunday in a way that is uncomfortable. But short of that, the waste management creates more content on social media than anywhere in any other event. I'm talking about dudes sideways trying to walk towards the next hole, hanging on for dear life while somebody's like, look at this, look at this, look at this guy. Look at this guy. It's impressive. Look at this guy. And then the stumbling begins to happen. You're like, oh, he's going down. And it's usually like white shirt, meet mud. That mud was created not by rain, but by spilled and thrown away beers. You, sir, are going to reek when you wake up from this experience. Not good.
The one thing I'm thankful for is at least this event is where it is, a relatively flat piece of land for the spectators, because having been to Whistling for the Ryder Cup a few years back,
broken ankle central. Yeah.
Everybody fell. Everyone. If you bothered to get a good view somewhere, you were on a knobby hill that was extremely slick, and you probably needed 2-inch spikes, like as though you were hiking, really seriously hiking, not that weekend stuff that couples do with a stick in order not to fall. And you just hear it throughout the property over the week. Oh, and you knew that somebody else fell. Now, it was sad the one day when I
saw the old man bust his head open.
I might have been on the air with you.
You were talking to me. We were getting ready to go on. You're like, oh, Jeff, I got to go. This guy just cracked his skull.
He did. There was blood everywhere. He was okay, as it turned out. I found out later. But I went down on Saturday morning. I went sliding down. It was almost as though I was on a water slide, and the drink stayed up high and elevated.
Nice.
I got a nice round of applause. If they did this at the Waste Management, you'd be talking about 3 fatalities in 2022 and 6 in 2023. We got to get it together. There were 12 fatalities last year at Whistling for the WM.
We're going to have to dial it back, everybody. It's gotten a little out of control. So I'm correct about Luke Clinton. Unfortunately, Luke is +2 right now through 15. So we got a bit of an issue. Of the players that are on the course, he's tied for 50th. So he's going to have a hard time. We'll see. He may bounce back. And the round's not over. Go get it, Luke. Round's not over. Christian Behazenhut. Bezudenheit. 6 under. Hogard is 5 under. Jake Knapp. Justin Thomas, who yours truly bet on yet again, Tommy, -4. Those early rounds, that's what you got to do. Sprinkle a little. Hour number 2 forthcoming. Stay with Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
The best happy hour in the city is at Café de Martín and El Bar. All day, every day, you can find great deals at Café de Martín while enjoying the best outdoor seating Tallahassee has to offer. Sip away on 2-for-1 house wines, chilcanos, and margaritas all day long, Monday through Thursday. Plus 2-for-1 pisco sours and margaritas on Fridays and Saturdays, and 2-for-1 mimosas for Sunday brunch. Come join us at Café de Martín, where every hour is happy hour, in the Esposito Shopping Center on Capitol Circle Northeast.
At Paul's Termite and Pest Control, we know if you have something in your home that's not supposed to be there, you want it gone now.
Not in a couple of days, not tomorrow, but today. That's why we offer a same-day guarantee.
If you call Paul's before 12, one of our technicians will be out before 5. We guarantee it.
The health of you, your family, and your pets is why we promise to do everything possible to quickly resolve your problem.
And we do so using the safest chemicals. Notice a pest problem?
Call Paul's Termite and Pest Control before 12, and we're there before 5.
Call Paul's.
We'll get them all.
Paul's Termite and Pest Control has been treating termites from the exterior of your home for about 25 years.
Paul's was the first to introduce the Centricon termite colony elimination system to North Florida and is the leader of this non-invasive treatment.
Instead of dumping gallons and gallons of harsh chemicals into our soil, Centricon uses environmentally sensitive treatments loaded in bait stations.
These stations are strategically placed around the home. If termites are present, they feed, take it back to the colony, which is shortly destroyed.
To learn more about Centricon
and a free consultation too,
call Paul's.
We'll get them all.
No matter how busy life gets, your home is the place where your family and friends show you they care and celebrate with you. That's why the professionals at Barano Heating and Air Conditioning always make sure your home is comfortable. Just like those who matter to you most, Barano will always be there for you.
This is Tyler from Barano Heating and Air. Now you can schedule an appointment, purchase or renew your service agreement, or pay your bill from your mobile device. Any day, anytime, anywhere. When you turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air. Online at baranoac.com.
Florida license number CAC 1816186.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take-home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Crescent, Tallahassee. Your Sports Flash update on Real Talk 93.3 brought to you by Fulmar's Pawn, Gun and Gold. More than you might expect with two great locations in Tallahassee.
The Jacksonville Jaguars have hired an offensive coordinator. They announced that Grant Udinski has been hired. He is just 29 years old. He has been with the Vikings for the last 3 seasons under head coach Kevin O'Connell. He started out as an assistant to the head coach for special projects and was promoted over the years to assistant quarterbacks coach and then assistant offensive coordinator this past year. NBA basketball, the Orlando Magic, they beat Sacramento yesterday 130-111. And the Miami Heat, they defeat the Philadelphia 76ers 108-101. This Sports Flash is brought to you by Fulmar's Pawn, Gun, and Gold. More than you might expect with 2 great locations in Tallahassee. I'm Matt Pauley on Real Talk 93.3.
Hi, welcome to Staples. Hi, I hear Staples can print it all for my business. Oh, if you can think it, Staples can print it and will beat any print quote. Oh, great. I'm thinking new brochures and yard signs. No problem. I'm thinking calendars, t-shirts, and pens. Totally. I'm thinking Staples is the place for printing. I thought you might think that.
Right now at Staples, get up to $250 off your print purchase. Ends 4/5 exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for offer details. Price match guarantee valid in store and staples.com/print. Visit staples.com/price match for details.
Joe Montana here. In my football days, I knew the importance of a strong defense. Now I'm sharing how you can help defend your health against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease. Are you 50 or older like me? The CDC now recommends vaccination against pneumococcal disease. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at increased risk and over 6 times greater risk of hospitalization with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50. Schedule your appointment today at vaxassist.com.
Listen to what people are saying about ACL Home Inspections.
They took the time to explain every detail, providing clear insights and answering all of my questions.
I needed an inspection quickly. ACL scheduled me within 24 hours, and the inspector was able to arrive early. That was a huge bonus, and my 2 dogs absolutely adore him.
ACL Home Inspections will accompany you on a walkthrough inspection of the home you want to buy, then provide you with an easy-to-read digital report the same day. For homeowners planning to list their house on the market before putting it up for sale, ACL will provide you a pre-listing inspection.
As a very analytical person, I want to see all the details and ask questions. I interviewed 3 home inspection companies and was very impressed by ACL.
See for yourself what people are saying. Search ACL Home Inspections and find out more at aclhomeinspections.com or call 850-312-8919. 850-312-8919.
Join Boys Town by providing direct care for youth in a safe and caring family-style living environment. As a family teacher, receive a $20,000 hiring bonus. Boys Town family teachers are a married couple that have the unique job of caring for children that are not their own by teaching, guiding, and preparing girls and boys for success in life. This is a live-in position. Join us in helping youth reach their full potential as a family teaching couple at Boys Town. Apply at boystown.org/careers.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50. For those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
Florida's capital city. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Talk Radio Warchant TV. Are we good? Are we back? I can't hear music. It's going in and out. It's odd. We've got a weird setup here today. I think we're good. I'm Jeff. That's Tom. Thanks for being with us. From the home today, Tom in studio makes a technical aspect of all this kind of weird.
You've never had to do this. You've always been on the other side when I was out of town. You've run the board when I was away. And then there are plenty of times where Director Matthew has been in this chair, and we've both been remote and working with Director Matthew. This is the first time this permutation has presented itself on air. So, you just had to go on trust there because we can't have too much of the cult or else we get zapped. But the radio audience heard it well. They're good.
Okay, as long as they're good. Softball's underway, right? Have we come back to win this game yet?
Oh, we were down 5-2 at the start of the show.
Come on, softball. Let's bounce back here. Let's get it together. I saw that too, but I was not aware of no, it looks like we lost.
9-6 we lost. They're playing Northern Colorado in 30 minutes. They did open up with Oklahoma State to start the season, so no easy task to begin the year, but Northern Colorado starts in just a few moments.
Oklahoma State, the number 4 ranked team in the country. Lonnie's team falls this afternoon in Puerto Vallarta. I would like to go to Puerto Vallarta. 9-6 was the score there. As Tom just said, Oklahoma State beats Florida State. University of Northern Colorado, come get your whooping, which gets underway now. Like, I guess right about now, right? Just like would we barely get a dusting off the field there, and it's time to get it on.
30 minutes. I like that. That's the way it should be. Single admission double headers, bring those back in all forms of sports. Tournament games, let's move it along quicker. We don't need to do a song and dance between the games and make sure that we get, 84 different performances. Let's just do a layup line and play. Dust off the field, let's play.
Afternoon doubleheaders when I was a kid, being on WGN or WOR or any of the TBS, like when those day game doubleheaders would happen and you'd come home from school as a kid, I remember walking through the door and throwing that on and being like, oh, they're in the 6th inning of game 1. And when this one ends, we're not waiting long. Let's get it on. That is something my kids will never know. And a lot of people listening to this show, if you're in your early, Tom, were they even still doing true double headers when you were a kid? Like, I mean, what the way double headers used to be played, the way the great Ernie Banks pointed out, it's a beautiful day. Let's play two. Like,
yes.
Did those exist?
Yes, it changed as I was getting into my middle school teenage years. If I'm remembering this correctly, one of the first day-night doubleheaders that I can remember being publicized made a ton of sense. It was a really cool exhibition of sorts, even though the games counted. It was the Subway Series when they played 2 games in 2 parks in the same day.
Right.
And so they ended up busing the teams from the Bronx to Queens to play a day-night 2-park doubleheader. But I remember single admission doubleheaders. Absolutely, I do.
Yeah, you're at the end. You're at the end of the era of people. There's nobody that's after you that does. There's nobody.
They do it in emergency circumstances only. For example, when the Braves and the Mets played on that extra day, because the Braves ground staff can't get together about cancellations, early. That was in the final week of the regular season. They did play a 30-minute doubleheader, but it's because, the playoffs are tomorrow. So somebody's losing and playing tomorrow. So we need to move this thing along. Only when they're forced will Major League Baseball teams do that because they want to get the gate for 2 games.
Oh, of course. It's always about the money. I get that. I know why it happens now, but there's a magic to the old school. Yeah, Taylor Swift says he's 28. No memories of that type of doubleheader. It was a very common thing for the vast majority of my childhood, in which you you could go to a doubleheader and one ticket got you in the gate and you were good to go if you wanted to stay for both. And back in those days, there was a legitimate chance, unfortunately. Now, this, I admit, would probably test the patience of even the most of patient people. The Job wouldn't sit through this. But I would tell you that you could go to a game 1 afternoon scheduled doubleheader, and the first game goes 16 innings. And as soon as that game's done, let's go. Let's get it on. We got another game to play. That's tough.
I can remember some circumstances that resembled this. Florida State, obviously, in college baseball, they will do single admission doubleheaders, especially on Sunday if they need to, because somebody's got to fly home.
And in college baseball, they'll do wonky things like shorten the games to 7 innings and everything else.
Yep. Start at 10 a.m. Well, although I don't mind that, but I remember a few doubleheaders that I had to work on the board, and you're going to be there all day. You better bring 2 meals because you're going to be there all day. Because in those days, the game had the loaded weapons of the bats. I think right now it's in the middle somewhere, and we were really, really good. I'm talking 2009, 2010. One of those, I think the 10 team went to the College World Series, but we dropped 16 runs a game, and you're just actively rooting. I know the animals would hate me for this, but I'm rooting in the booth, in the control room, saying, stop it. Stop it right now. You stop it. Because now they at least have 10-run rules in some of these circumstances past a certain inning, which I'm totally okay with. We run-ruled Florida last year.
We sure as hell did run-rule Florida last year. It was humiliating for the Gators.
Well, where was that when we were playing Boston College for a doubleheader that went for 9 hours from the pregame show to the end? Those were some lonely times.
Did you see, while we're on the subject, I might as well get it out there, we're this close to baseball starting, that the ACC Baseball Championship is moving from pool play to a 16-team single elimination bracket? That is cool. Thank goodness. That was such a weird and somewhat confusing and silly way of doing the ACC tournament in the past. This is so much better now. Look, the bottom line is everybody can understand that if you win, you get to keep playing. And if you lose, you don't. So win the game. Thanks for playing. Let's move it along here. It's a money grab anyhow. I get that ordinarily, Tom, you wouldn't want baseball to ever have single elimination in anything. But in a trumped-up, truncated nonsense conference tournament, I'm all for it. Let's go. I'm especially for it where you don't have this nebulous sort of like, oh, well, we're just going to, I don't know, maybe you make the finals, maybe you won't. Depends on what the final score was of this other game none of that nonsense. You win, you move on, you don't, you go home. That's the end of it. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it. I do like the situations with the bye, however, and a double bye, because that at least logistically speaking, you don't have 16 teams or whatever they're going to do in one place at one time.
Right.
And
9 through 16.
All at a hotel, you know?
Yeah, 9 through 16 play the first round, 5 through 8 join in the second round. Seeds 1 through 4 get a bye into the quarterfinals. That's what you earn from kicking ass in the regular season. And, at the end of the day, every game matters then. I'm fine with that.
I actually like the guaranteed pool play idea, because at least if you needed help for a national seed, that's the conversation we're having now. Years ago, if you needed help to get in and play in the tournament, you needed help to host a regional, at least you knew in the ACC, because the league is good enough that you might get a free opportunity against a North Carolina or Virginia. And here you go. Here's a bonus opportunity to bolster that RPI before we get into the discussion about host sites. I liked having that knowledge. Now the schedule is just completely up in the air. I'll bet you some teams might even just kind of show up and maybe swing and bunt and decide to go on home.
Which is great, because if you actually kicked a lot of ass and you're not worried about whether or not you're going to make it to the postseason, I don't need to wear down my arms with added innings for no damn reason because I got to play this stupid 3-game. No, I kicked ass. Don't need to worry about it. I win or lose it. Regardless, it doesn't make a difference. I'm hosting. I'm rolling on Big River. Here, I'm going to throw some slappy I haven't even thrown this year. Here you go. Come beat his ass. We're going home. I'm fine. I'm fine with it, especially if we were really good during the course of the year. I'm okay with it.
Looks like the probables for North Carolina are Ace McCullough. And then for the Seminoles, we've got, is that last name right, Richard? Slappy, 0-0 with a 0.00 ERA. We got Slappy.
It reminds me of how ridiculous it was when your boy, the coach at Alabama, got popped for gambling and doling out the information to his guy at that Cincinnati betting spot. Was it an MGM? Was that what it was there in Cincinnati, next to the ballpark in Cincinnati?
Yeah, it was next to the ballpark.
Yeah, my favorite part.
It wasn't on reservation grounds. It wasn't at a book in Vegas or Atlantic
No.
City. It's the ballpark. It's the ballpark book.
Yeah, but he went over there with 2 duffel bags of money and went all in on college baseball, as if somebody wouldn't think, that's a little odd. And then secondarily, they started a guy that hadn't started a game in a month and a half, 2 months.
Sir, this isn't Arby's. I don't know why you're bringing in duffel bags of cash. We don't usually deal in those amounts here at the sports book at a ballpark. And the fact, sir, that you're saying, no, you really need to take me seriously is only making me less serious about how to take you.
Yeah, that guy was friends with the Alabama coach, which makes me wonder, how the Alabama coach expressed to him that he should place these bets. Was he that kind of dumb as well? Because you would say to him, whatever you do, don't draw attention to yourself. People don't put big numbers on college baseball. It's really, you're going to draw attention in a way you don't want to. So, for example, Kyle, don't go in there with a duffel bag full of money. That'd be ridiculous.
And with a T-shirt that has 2 thumbs pointing upward that says, "This guy's got winners." What are you doing? I got winners, baby. Big day.
He walked in there, and you're right. The testimony after they busted him was that the one guy did. He kept saying, "You need to take me seriously." Well, no, I don't have to do anything.
I've got information. He said, "I've got information. I've got good information. I need to make this bet."
It's the kind of thing you would write in a comedy. If you were like, let's have these 2 guys be hopeless, just ridiculous people, that kind of a thing.
Who would you cast for that? Because I would cast Jeffrey Tambor. I think he would be perfect for it.
Yeah. I don't know who yes, and then you could have, Kenny Powers be the Alabama manager.
That's right.
Yeah.
Or he could be the pit boss. He'd be, what are you doing here, Chief? No, you have to take the bet. You have to do it.
Yeah.
Hang on here, Chief, with the Jerry curls.
Yeah, and he'd be like, I don't have to do anything. Yeah.
We don't deal in that kind of action around here, Chief. I don't know what you're talking about.
Especially not with college baseball. What are you doing?
We deal in blackjack and Skyline chili, brother. That's what we do here at the Cincinnati Reds ballpark book.
I'm so glad Bryce is at the age where I can begin to show him all of the Kenny Powers magic, all of it. We can go back from season 1 all the way through and watch all of it. The absurdity. He got it in under the wire. You'd never be able to do it now.
Well, I don't know, man. Righteous Gemstones hits on a lot of the same things. It's kind of the same show, at least when it comes to the humor level and pushing the envelope. And I believe that got renewed for one more season.
Oh, I certainly hope so. It's fantastic. We are a little over now. We just talked about it yesterday during the interviews with Link Jarrett and Mike Capozzi. But we are, in terms of Major League Baseball, this is stunning where we're at with the spring training getting ready to get started. And Tom and I are going to be doing some broadcasts from down there. We'll tell you more about that at a later date as we start to get all of that organized. But that's going to be fun, buddy. That's going to be fun. Not bad, an old dad for John C. Reilly. Not bad.
Oh, that would be, yes, because of the desperation.
Mm-hmm.
The desperation he gave. Wait, no, you have to. You have to. That's John C. Reilly. And the hair. He can grow his hair and be a refined person with the coiffed look, or look like he does on whatever show that was. Was that Funny or Die, where he's the confused guy? And
I can't remember. Yeah, I think it might have been. Yeah. Schedule, by the way, for MLB spring training is the 20th. So 14 days from right now is the first spring training game. And then it's just, let's get it on. After that, it's just this full slate of games. And my Buccos take on Ira's Baltimore Orioles in their first spring training game of the season down there. Should be fun and gets underway. I look forward to the sounds in the background.
I heard you got after him on headlines about, are you going to invest a whole nother season just to watch your team go to the playoffs and do nothing?
Quite literally do nothing. Like they don't win a single game. After nearly winning 100, they don't even bother to show up for the games. Out here dropping one run.
I sent him a photo. This is in last September. It's because the Mets were catching fire to make the playoffs, and that was a fun team anyway, whether they made it or they didn't. But this is as Baltimore is just crashing and burning. And it's that meme of the cartoon characters, two guys, one's looking at one side of the train, and it's beautiful, and one's looking out the other side of the train, and it's just horrific and disgusting, and he's down and he's gloomy. And it said Baltimore Orioles fans looking at 83 and 74, and it's gloomy, and Mets fans looking at 83 and 74, and they're just bright and happy and full of joy. It's so true, because Ira's season started with all of these heightened expectations, and they were living up to it. And then the Orioles just kind of faded into nothing with a predictable playoff finish.
The hardest part is that, the year before that, they won nearly, or did, what was it, like 100 games? I mean, it's just, it's bizarre to watch that. That's the cruelty of postseason baseball, I might add. Hey, speaking of wins and numbers and totals, we'll do this here in a second. You saw that FanDuel's got some of the totals for next year's college football, right? So we got we haven't touched on it yet. We got Alabama, we got Clemson, Florida. We don't have us yet. Colorado, Georgia, LSU, Miami, Michigan, North Carolina, Notre Dame, amongst others. We got a lot to choose from here and have some fun with.
They may never release us. They may say, nope, bets off. We've got no clue. And they'd be right, because last year our win total in Vegas, not according to the beat, not Nick Saban, Vegas with their sharps said 9.5. We were at 9.5 with Clemson and Miami in the preseason. It was 3 teams at the top. Those were the 3 at 9.5 wins. I'll bet Vegas is really thinking long and hard and probably want full spring intel reports in order to get to the number that they want to arrive at.
I think we're one of the most difficult teams yes, very, very difficult. And college football is getting much more difficult to do year over year, no doubt. Jeff Cameron Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
When I get home from work, I'm ready to relax. No, I call Swain Pools and Spas. I call Swain Pools and Spas. I'm so good and fun when I want to.
Truckloads of new and used Caldera and Hot Spring Spas are available now at Swain Pools and Spas. Don't wait. Get to Swain Pools and browse the best inventory to find the spa of your dreams. These won't last long, so come see us today. Just look for the huge sign on Tharp Street or call 386-7113 for Swain Pools and Spas.
I know what you're thinking right now. Where can I find a place to get my car fixed and also check out some awesome new hot tubs and spas while I wait? Well, you're in luck. Because when you bring your car or truck in to get serviced at Tallahassee Car Care, it's under the same roof as Swain Pools and Spas for tires, brakes, batteries, tune-ups, oil changes, and all the service you need to get back on the road. Choose the certified technicians at Tallahassee Car Care. Drop by our shop on Tharp Street or visit online at TallahasseeCarCare.com.
Time. It's the one thing we never get back. We can't create it. We can't buy it. We can't store it somewhere. Once it's gone for good, which makes it the most valuable thing we have. The only real question is how we spend our time. So, how much time are you spending every day running in circles with a computer network using old software on old equipment that's wasting your time, that gets in the way and leaves you feeling angry and frustrated? Let's fix that. Call Crown Networking. They've been helping people just like you and I make the best use of their time for the last 20 years. Now is the time for you to make the call. Here's the number in Tallahassee, 850-999-0090, 999-0090, or online at crownnetworking.com. Oh, and talk to them about getting you a new phone system, too. You know, it's time.
Searching for the best place to host an event for your friends and family? The Golf Club at Summerbrook is more than just a place for a round of golf. It's also one of the best choices for hosting and celebrating the most special days in your life. From rehearsal dinners and baby showers to corporate banquets and kids' birthday parties, you'll receive amazing personal service and attention to every detail when you choose the Golf Club at Summerbrook. Find out how affordable it can be and call us today at 850-894-GOLF. That's 850-894-GOLF.
Hey everybody, this is Shannon Young with Cross Country Mortgage. Been in the industry now for 22 years. I just made the move over to the nation's largest retail lender, Cross Country Mortgage, here to serve you in 7 states, including Florida, Georgia, Alabama, the Carolinas, Tennessee, and the state of Texas. Here to offer better service, better rates, and if you were thinking about buying or if you've been on the fence and been waiting to call me, now is the time. You can still find me at loansforknowles.com. That is, again, loansforknowles.com. I've helped thousands of fellow Knowles get into their dream home, and I can't wait to help you get into yours. Give me a call today. I'm at 954-369-6171, or go to loansforknowles.com. Again, that's 954-369-6171, and that's loansforknowles.com.
Equal housing with NMLS 373031.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Rolling on, I mentioned it just before the break, so let's get to it. I am kind of interested, and I do like the question in the chat, which was, if you're FanDuel and you had to put a number on it, what would you say? And he's talking about FSU, no doubt. Tom, I think I know that 2-10 suggests that you should maybe look at a lower number. I'm not sure I buy that. I think that it's going to be fascinating to watch. You don't even have to be a gambler, by the way. I always try to point out the segments in which this is not going to be a deep dive into gambling. That'll be next hour. But this instead is about like the perception of what a program is or is not, a team is or is not, its personnel, its coaching staff, its schedule. And even with Alabama being on this schedule, you look at how manageable the rest of the schedule is, especially the first half of that schedule. Florida State will match its win total before they even get to week 4, of a year ago. I think you could easily suggest that number is 6.5 or 7.5 is where I'd put that over under to entice bettors.
Yeah, again, this is where it does get into gambling just a little bit, is you want to set that number to have it move because you want people to play it. I think 6.5 is the proper number because the action you're going to get is largely from Florida State fans. And so at 6.5, Florida State fans will play the over in a big way. I think the proper number is 7.5. If you're not trying to move the scales or induce action, I think 7.5 is the correct number. You could slip up in a game that doesn't, include your rivals, doesn't include Alabama. And at that point, you're staring 7-5 in the face. But if you don't, or you upset one of your rivals, or you upset Alabama out the gate, you're cruising towards 8. So I think 7.5 is proper, especially because you need to skew it low based upon what happened last year. I get it's not related, but I think there is something to the idea of skewing low. If I'm going to make a mistake as somebody who sets the number, I'm going to do so on the low side until Mike Norvell shows me that this was the blip and not the new normal.
So we already know that Florida State is not favored. In fact, they're a significant underdog at home against Alabama. That game to be played Saturday, August 30th. If you must know, that is 204 days, 8 hours, 31 minutes, and 12, 11, 10 seconds away from happening. Goodness gracious. But that's where we stand. Florida State has an underdog there. If we just go by, are they favored, not favored? Let's do that real quick, rapid fire, Tom. Not favored against Alabama, we know it. Favored against East Texas A&M, yes. Favored against Kent State, yes. What say you on Virginia?
Florida State will be favored at that point. I think the first 3 weeks is going to show enough to do that.
We agree. We agree. Miami, no, will not be favored against Miami here at home.
No, Miami plays. No. They got Notre Dame, but then they've got some cupcakes to beef up their ability to be the favorite in the gambling game.
Yeah, and I'm just basing it on like what we think projection. I mean, obviously these numbers will change once the year starts and we see what teams are or are not. I think we will be favored over Pitt. I think we will be favored on the road at Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll be favored at home against Wake Forest.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think we'll be favored against Clemson for sure. I think we'll be favored against Virginia Tech at home.
I find that one to be interesting. That one will be close, I think, but we'll find out. Good call.
Well, it's in November and it's at home, so I'm going to say as long as we're not falling all over ourselves, we'll likely be a slight favorite. We'll see. I think we're road underdogs against NC State with our history playing a part there. And then we're underdogs against Florida in Gainesville.
So you have us underdog in 5 contests. I'm not sure about NC State. A lot of reports about that program being in trouble up there year over year.
Good.
We'll see. We'll see if that in fact is true, but that could help influence the way those lines move. That's the other thing. We're talking about how Vegas might want to withhold the season total, might need more information on Florida State. The game totals come out too individually and a lot of times they will do November matchups. They often will have a Florida State versus Florida line available now or in the early summer.
Well, this is when professional gamblers, if I could speak, this is when professional gamblers absolutely jump on it. They'll fly to other states where it's legal to get down early in certain amounts. Like they'll leave their home state in order to bet big money on games, future games like week 7, week 9. They'll be like, oh, wait a minute, you're going to give me Florida -2 against Florida State right now? Okay, I'll do that all day long. Like a lot of people would I'm just using that as a hypothetical.
Well, I believe we rightly might have to check the tape here. Maybe it's a positive false memory, but I believe we were on the side of saying take Georgia Tech and the points because it was a lot. Was it 11, 10.5 or 11? It was something like that in the early market.
Yeah, in the off season, it was a bigger number, and we both didn't like that. We thought,
yeah.
That's sizable. It's a weird game. It's Ireland. You're also dealing with a really good offensive line and a veteran quarterback and a good coach. Kind of just felt like we would win the game, but it would be close. But alas, could not have known it was the precursor to death. It was going to be a problem. So if we're going to solve for the future with ISF, I see it on the screen. We should do it right now. We should do it. Give them a bonus. Solving the Future brought to you by ISF of Tallahassee, 40-plus years, right here in Tallahassee, serving the country. ISF is combining your vision and their expertise. See ISF's capabilities. Go check them out, isf.com. Man, they will make it happen. You'll be much more efficient technology-wise, and they will get in the game with you and make your dreams come true as state government, whatever it might be. They've got you covered. All right, so if you'd like, this is the kind of fun of it all. I'm going to tell you right now, if they put that line at 6.5 for Florida State, I'm going over. And that's I'm going over. I'm taking the 7 wins for Florida State. Now, I think that's the most likely outcome. But
7.5, would you play it or would you let it lie?
I'd probably let it lie. I'm not that certain. I feel good about 7.
I would play it on over on 7.5. And I would briefly pause, but I wouldn't pause for long. Now, 8.5, I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. But 7.5, just because, Miami has a lot of things in transition. They've got a quarterback who's coming off a Tommy John, essentially. I feel like if you're ranking the 4 tough games next year, and I'm not going to try and do it this quickly in descending or ascending order, Alabama will be tough. They did get their offensive coordinator. You realize that in the last couple of weeks they got
DeBoer went and got his guy from Washington. Yeah,
that's not great. Now they are breaking it in first game, so maybe you can catch them still off guard with these new schemes. Miami still is in flux. They lose a lot of veteran presence on the offensive side, not just Cam Ward that they're replacing, but
Martinez. Yeah.
Yeah, and Restrepo, I think he's finally gone, right? Or does he have another?
Yeah.
Does he have his 17th year of eligibility?
No, he's
so
gone.
they lost, and receivers transferred out of there as well this offseason. So there's a lot of moving parts for them to settle. Florida could be downtrodden again. I know it didn't matter this year, but 2 straight years of having to play that schedule, and for Lagway in year 1, it's easier to take. He missed a little bit with injury. He wasn't even the starter to begin the season. But if you get beaten down with 4 and 5 losses again before you get to the 15th of November, maybe mentally speaking, they're not all the way where they need to be. I could see a path to 8 fairly reasonably, because you could maybe upset one of your 4 big games. And at that point, you're way ahead of the curve to get to 8 if you can get a win over your rival or Alabama.
I'm picking us to go over 6.5, and I'm not touching anything beyond that until I just don't. This is what I mean about why it's going to be fun moving forward to watch what Vegas tries to do with these teams. Let's rapid fire some of this. Notre Dame is at 10.5. Give me the under. 10.5.
I don't know enough about what's coming back on in the trenches, although they did bleed 3 or 4 offensive linemen in the portal, right? So
that's buddy, 10.5. They got to go 11-1. No. Nope. We're going under there. Dream season just happened. Give me the under.
You could cash that in week 3, buddy. You could cash that in week 3 because they open with Miami, as you know, and they have a bye week out the gate. So they play Miami in a bye, awkward. And then they host Texas A&M. So their first 2 games are against Miami and A&M. My God.
They should have lost A&M last year. They did pull it out to their credit. But, yes, I will give – I'm taking the under on that right away. Ohio State's at 10.5. Texas, I thought, was a little low at 9.5. Okay. Arch is going to be the starter. He is the odds-on Heisman favorite. I do think there's going to be magic in that there arm.
So they're at 9.5, and here's why. They open with Ohio State, so there's an opportunity for a ding there.
And they're in the SEC, so there's all of that, yes.
Yeah, they play at Florida early in the year. It's the same weekend we play. Wow, it's the same weekend we play Miami. It's Texas at Florida. Good weekend.
Big weekend in the state.
They play at Georgia in November, and then they close with A&M, obviously a rivalry game. So otherwise that looks manageable. I like where you're at on the over 9.5. It's a good call.
I just think Arch is going to be really good. Southern Cal's at 7.5. Who knows? Who knows anymore? North Carolina, Chapel Bill, 7.5. I don't know what to do with any of that. Miami is at 8. Miami is at 8.5, by the way.
I understand that North Carolina may not have a roster, and we don't even know who's on their roster, but they have that ACC Express Lane schedule this year that Louisville had 2 years ago.
Yep.
And SMU had last year. Here's their ACC schedule real quick. It's Clemson to open, ouch. But then it's Cal, Virginia, Syracuse, Stanford, Wake, Duke, NC State.
So Stanford, Wake, Duke, NC State, yes, those should be wins if they're competent. They're going to lose the Syracuse game, I bet. Maybe. That's
McCord's gone, but
yeah.
So it's Cal, Virginia, Syracuse is your first 3 after Clemson. You're going to lose to Clemson. All right, fine. But
so
if you're talking about
2 and 2,
yeah, and then Wake, Duke, Stanford, NC State. They've got no excuse to be at 500 or under 500 in the ACC next year. No excuse.
LSU's at 8.5 wins. I thought that was interesting. Kind of low, really, frankly. But you can pull up that. Clemson, by the way, is at 9.5. If I didn't mention it, so there's Clemson at 9.5. Kind of fun. Oh, by the way, you are correct, Noel. That is a park your ass Saturday when you get Texas at UF and Miami at FSU. Come on with it, baby. Come on with it.
That'll do. Clemson opens with LSU this year, and that is apparently a home and home. So they're doing a Death Valley home and home series. It is at Clemson, South Carolina.
Glorious, by the way. There's a lot of marquees with that. This is beautiful. Florida State, Alabama is included in that list.
It's the same day. Yeah, so you got some Jim Phillips. Get ready. Here's your chance. You got Clemson, LSU, and Florida State, Alabama in week 1. Waving that ACC banner.
Brett, I am absolutely taking the over on Clemson. They're going to be really, really good, unfortunately. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
Governor DeSantis announced a new tax holidays in Florida on Monday. It's part of his budget proposal titled Focus on Fiscal Responsibility. The tax holiday would allow people to purchase firearms, ammunition, and accessories tax-free from Memorial Day to July 4th. The governor's office claims this tax holiday could save Floridians $8 million on gun and ammo purchases. The budget still needs to be approved by the legislature when the regular session starts March 4th. School zone speed enforcement cameras were activated Monday to help ensure the safety of students and pedestrians. The cameras are just two of many that are expected to activate near over 20 schools in the capital city. Once a camera is activated, anyone who drives more than 10 miles over the school zone speed limit, the camera will snap a photo of their tag and they will receive a $100 citation that will have to be paid within 30 days. This is Rachel Anay with Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at McCraeSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times this afternoon, with daytime highs approaching 78. Winds out of the south, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows level out around 59, with fog in spots tonight, overcast skies. Daytime highs approaching 77, with fog early tomorrow. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Currently 76.
Be Nice Tire and Auto Service at 4792 Bluntstown Highway today. The ASE trained technicians at Nice take the guesswork out of fixing your car. That's why wherever you see the Goodyear sign, you'll find what you want in tires and service. From preventative maintenance to a major overhaul and everything in between, you name it. Plus, Nice's services are backed by a nationwide limited warranty. Stop by Nice Tire and Auto Service. 4792 Bluntstown Highway, just west of Capitol Circle.
There is no Bigfoot, Eddie. Would you stop with that nonsense?
There's a Bigfoot, Jeff.
I wish there were. By the way, I don't want you to point to me as the guy that takes all the fun out of the room. I wish there was the Loch Ness Monster. I wish there was the Bigfoot. I wish there was the Chupacabra. All the things.
They're all mythical except for the Bigfoot. The Sasquatch.
The Bigfoot?
The Bigfoot. There's big feet. There's lots of them.
So like different, breeds, like different kinds.
There's like families. There's different families. And,
so if they're in the snow, you call them a Sasquatch
or the Yeti, right?
Yep,
and then here in Florida, that's a skunk ape. And
I've never heard that one. By the way, why do you think it's real? We would have found them by now.
They're the hide and seek champions of the world. Nobody finds the Bigfoot.
I think you believe in Bigfoot.
I do believe in Bigfoot.
You don't believe.
I believe in Bigfoot.
Don't tell anybody you believe in Bigfoot.
I would go look for Bigfoot, but he scares me.
Florida, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com multimedia network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Probably not the best look in the world to start a segment without Jeff, but now we can start the segment because he's arrived back in his seat. You okay there, buddy?
I was having a coughing fit. You have to forgive me. I was trying to I thought I could get to the back bathroom and clear my throat and get a glass of water and get it all done at the same time and buck up for the remainder of this hour and get this done. But alas, I was 10 seconds late. So
people did not realize the NHL knowledge that was about to be dropped. I was giving it just a moment. But
as I was running back into the room, I was kind of thinking to myself, I wonder if Tom's going to do one of two things. Is he going to whistle, or is he going to give us an over-under or some plays tonight on the NHL? I meant to give out a play yesterday, and I didn't even check to see how it did. I'm starting to be more cognizant of the fact that we need to ramp this up. It's almost baseball season after all. We'll have plenty of those moments that we get to do it. But I've already told you, in next hour, I've got a lot of plays for the Super Bowl, so you'll get that. But I think it was Brown and Siena. I was going to take the under based on some numbers I was looking at, Tom.
What? Really? Yeah. So you got Ivy League versus Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, MAC versus Ivy?
I did. Hey, you got to go where the value is, Tom.
I didn't know those two conferences locked horns. That's awesome.
Really quickly, I saw something during the break that made me sad for you and me, and really I just thought, goodness gracious. Did you see that there's a 13-year-old golfer who shot a 3 over 75 in the first round of the Qatar Masters on Thursday?
Oh God.
It's a professional setup. I mean, he shot a 75. He's 13.
What country is he from? Is he from here?
I believe he's Russian national. And Danil Sokolov. But he, by the way, he was 2 under after 4 holes. Kind of got nervous as he was coming down the stretch. But yeah, man, at the age of 12, they let him play a year ago at the Qatar Masters, and he shot a 78. So suffice to say, you're going to end up knowing this guy's name. And that just makes me mad that somebody's 13 years old playing in a professional event shooting a 75. That is unbelievable.
I saw some of those jokers growing up. I didn't have a game like that. And I remember playing in my first competitive tournament because I thought they were all like me. And I was wrong. Played at not the Copperhead, but we played at an Innisbrook course that's now the Islands course. It was called the Sandpiper. And I was done and I turned in. We were playing from pretty far back. I was 10, 11 years old. I turned in a tighty 90, whatever. And I was in dead last. These are 74s and 76s. And I'm just thinking, wow, it's a different world out there. And this kid he would make even those kids look silly. He'd probably shoot 62 on that course, 63.
Really quick, because it was brought up in the chat and it does involve a Knoll. Terance Mann traded to the Atlanta Hawks. Terance Mann with the Clippers these last few years, and obviously got a big contract, somebody that my son absolutely adores. I like Terance too, obviously, for his time here in Tallahassee and how good he was. Such a versatile player. We'll see if he gets to play a little bit bigger role. His role had been diminished by quite a bit this year with the Clippers compared to previous years. I was lucky enough to go down to Miami and see the Clippers play the Heat a couple of seasons ago. And Terance started that game and had a thunderous dunk off the baseline on an alley-oop right where we were sitting, Tom, and it was really cool because when he came back down on the next possession, I was able to he could hear me. I did a little go Knowles, and he looked over at me and smiled, which was really quite cool. But the thing about Terance is he's had some nagging injuries this year. Obviously, we pay attention to him closely around here, just because Bryce loves him and that was his team. But now in Atlanta, we get a chance to watch him play on a more regular basis because, as Live Spectator points out, you don't have to wait up till 10:30 to watch him play. That'll be nice. I was mainly watching highlights these last year and a half.
To give out a little bit of advice in the spirit of the day, I've got what I will term a 29-unit play. This isn't a 40-unit must play, Lee Sterling style, but this is a fairly decent play. Under 5.5 goals in the Ottawa-Tampa Bay game tonight, under 5.5. It's at even money. Part of the reason I like the play is because of the value. Tampa will be down one of their starting 2 top centers tonight, Anthony Cirelli. Tony C's not playing, and they have a real depth issue at center. So I think they're going to lock it down defensively, try to win the game 2-1 or 3-2 if they can. Empty netters might get you. But I've been on that Lightning train for a little while, and I've been correct about the Lightning over the last couple of weeks. So still, empty netters can kill an over-under, but I like it 28 units, under 5.5 goals at even money.
28 units. By the way, I meant to tell you last week, and it's too late now. The timing doesn't work. I'm sure you were aware of it, and I know we don't have huge hockey folks out there, but if you did, you may have noticed at one point that the Philadelphia Flyers, once proud franchise, goodness gracious, had lost, and I haven't checked this week, but they had lost 5 out of 6. And Tom, I started thinking about this. I don't really remember this, save for those days when the Lightning were terrible. They had lost 5 of 6 and been shut out in 3 straight games.
Oh, man.
In that 6-game run, they scored 4 goals in 6 games total. Can you imagine going to, if Philly has passionate fans. Imagine you're going to see your Flyers, and imagine you're a season ticket holder, and you lose 5 of 6, and you score a grand total of 4 effing goals in 6 games?
Yeah, I mean, as you've correctly pointed out, I've been there. I do remember what that was like. I have seen something like that, and
Have you
I can
seen
remember.
back shutouts?
I can look back and see if the Lightning did it. They were bad in the dead puck era when nobody scored goals, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Nobody was scoring then, yeah. But
I mean, I remember there being 5,500, 6,000 people in that building, and that's a 20,000 seat place. And I asked my dad, "Are they going to have to move?" And my dad said, "I don't know. I don't know."
At least he was honest.
Yeah, this isn't good.
Perhaps this is we got a bit of a problem here.
It's a new building, but I'm not sure. This whole Florida hockey thing doesn't look like it's going to work.
Except for it does. And
did.
now there are 3 Stanley Cups that reside there in Tampa and 1 down in Miami. It's crazy. Imagine the poor Canadians going, son of a, it's 100 degrees in that state. Why?
Yeah, of the last 4, 3 have been in Florida, 1 in Colorado. Nothing in New York, nothing in Philly, nothing in Boston or Chicago, or certainly not Winnipeg or Montreal. Nowhere like that.
No, but I think you could live with cold weather states. Colorado's cold, man. You could deal with it if you were Canadian in a cold weather state one. Like if Minnesota, won, you'd be like, oh, okay, well, that's fine. New York, like you said,
count with the Canadian jinx. They've been around for 20 odd years and they've never sniffed one. Never in their existence. And they're the state of hockey. That's what they're known as. Other than the Great Lakes, or the 1,000 lakes, 100,000 lakes.
Yeah.
They're the state of hockey. And Buffalo, big into the closer you are to Canada, the more you're screwed. Seattle, never going to happen.
Oh, that's not true. Come on, Kraken. We get of all the recent names of teams and franchises that came onto the scene, don't you think the Kraken is the best?
Oh, easily. Yeah, and for some reason, I don't know if it was a copyright issue or what, but Utah decided not to go with Yeti. The Utah Yeti is fantastic.
Well, and never mind all the ridiculous sponsorship stuff that you could have going on with that, but that would have been fantastic. I mean, you would have had to have called the Yeti cooler people and say, "What are we doing? Come on, let's go. This is a marriage made in heaven." Now, I would have been for it because you could have actually had the Yeti as your logo, and it would have been incredible. I mean, that would have been very, very cool. Like, think of all that's why the Kraken was so cool, is that evil red-eyed octopus coming up at you.
But that launch.
It was incredible.
That whole presentation was unbelievable. And yeah, the Yeti, you could do a fun thing during the game. At intermissions now, it's become all too common that all of these arenas turn off all the lights. And they've got something on the screen and they might do a light show. How about a Yeti scare thing that you could have every single game where the Yeti creeps up on somebody when the lights are out during the intermission? And then they flash the lights on and everybody's looking over their shoulder. Is the Yeti near me? Is it near me? And it scares somebody in the stands.
You could do that and it would be fun, but I also would just get over the top and have some crazy furry, all white, crazy long-haired Yeti running out on the ice doing berserko things. It would be so fun. You could even have the Yeti skating, just running around like that goofy Philadelphia mascot. You could have this Yeti be over the top.
Yeah, Gritty is, I think, what everybody shoots for in terms of a mascot. The Fanatic and Gritty. Philadelphia does nail that. They'll throw batteries at you, but they will also nail a good mascot because the Fanatic is undefeated.
Yeah, the Philly Fanatic is fantastic, but I think that's because you're having to do something that doesn't what is a Philly Fanatic? What is that thing? I mean, you're just making it up. That's not even a thing. It's just this stupid fat green thing with a long nose. It doesn't that's good because it's embracing absurdism, which I love. Like when they had to think about what should we do, you couldn't just roll out some criminal Philly fan throwing batteries at people. You had to do the right thing. And you're like, let's just pick something that is like nothing to do with nothing, just crazy that will stick in people's minds. And they got it. I
think that's not a bad idea. Maybe mascots should be the worst of each city. You should just have the worst elements stereotypically in each city. So Philly, it could be some dude who clearly bets on every game all season long.
5 o'clock shadow, mob related, slicked back hair, ridiculously unbuttoned shirt, walks with a switchblade.
And so he's got to punch a wall once a game and he breaks the wall, so they have it set up. So it looks sturdy, but it's actually styrofoam, and he punches and breaks a wall once a game. That's perfect for Philadelphia.
Oh, and think of the fun you could have down in Tampa with the road hard, put up wet, meth dealing crowd. Oh my goodness gracious.
In a motorcycle wearing a Hulkamania t-shirt. There you go.
Yeah, I was just about to say a tank top, and his skin would have to be weathered and fake tanned to go along with just all of it, just over the top absurdist.
Wearing a 98 Rock t-shirt.
Thinning hair that he's growing long for no reason, still hanging on to a dream. He bleaches the back. He has a chain. I guarantee you he's wearing a chain like a clown. He's got 2 or 3. And then there's also this like Born to Ride tattoo on the forearm to go with, yes, leather. Yeah.
He's got several bracelets that he's wearing too. Those are probably the most expensive thing he has on are the bracelets.
He's got too much cologne on, even in character, and he gets to smoke cigarettes on the ice. Maybe a drink in hand, a tall boy. How good is that? We'd be like when he came out for the light, you'd be like, yeah, there he is.
What would his name be? I'm trying to think of the perfect name for that guy.
Evan.
Evan?
Or Frank.
Frank, yeah.
Frank.
Evan's too hoity-toity. I like Frank better. Frank the Beach Bum.
Yeah, Mitch.
He's got to have the metal detector. He's got the metal detector in the back of the motorcycle.
Does Mitch work? I mean, you could.
I feel like Tony works. You can get a Tony in there.
Yeah, no, man. There's some fun right there. You got guys, and that is
Terry.
correct.
What about Terry?
Terry's good. Yeah, Terry works. Terry works really, really well. Terry's got a tough go.
Or Ronnie. Ronnie or Terry. Yeah.
Also, whoever this is has a bad knee. Like they wear the brace. There's no doubt they have a bad knee to go with it. That is too good.
And they got the biker gloves. They got the finger gloves, right? Fingerless ones.
That is too good. Final hour, forthcoming. Chef Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.